All right, let's just jump right in. We're not talking about some obscure technical problem today. No. We're talking about a huge strategic challenge that, honestly, almost every single data-driven business is facing, whether they realize it or not. And it all comes down to the problem of identity.
You know, this quote really just nails it. You've got one single thing, one product out there in the real world, but inside your data, it's living 2, maybe 3 different lives. And that tiny little inconsistency, it has a cost, a very, very real one.
And there's a name for it: fragmented identity. Think of it as this invisible gremlin that's quietly breaking your churn models, messing up your pricing engines, and yeah, even leading your fancy AI agents completely astray.
So let's really dig into that. Let's talk about how this one seemingly tiny data problem can create these massive cascading failures all the way downstream.
And this is where it gets real. Just look at this Sony turntable. Now, you and I, we look at these and say, okay, obviously the same product. But to a machine, no way. Those are 3 totally distinct things. So what happens? Well, your inventory system thinks you have way too much of one and you're sold out of the other. Your pricing engine might slash the price on what it sees as a loser when it's actually your #1 bestseller, just under a different name. And the scariest part? Your AI agents don't just make these mistakes, they make them and then scale them at the speed of light.
So here's the bottom line. This is not some abstract data cleanup project you can just hand off to IT. This is real money, just quietly walking out the front door, and it's disguised as everyday operational noise.
Now, to even start solving this, you have to understand that there are 2 totally different and often competing ways of thinking about how to match records. It's really a battle between precision and meaning.
So, on one side, you've got lexical precision. Think of your classic search algorithms, stuff like BM25. They are all about the exact words, the exact tokens. For this camp, that model number, PSLX350H, dot is the holy grail. It's rigid, it's super precise. But then, on the other side, you have semantic meaning. This whole world is powered by vector embeddings, and it doesn't really care about the exact words. It cares about the idea, the concept. It just knows that turntable and record player are the same thing, even though the letters are completely different.
And this table, man, it really shows you just how fundamentally different these 2 worlds are. The lexical world, BM25, it's sparse. It's like a giant checklist with tens of thousands of words, and through any given product, almost all the boxes are unchecked. There's 0. But the semantic world of vectors is dense. The meaning is all compressed into a much smaller space, and every single dimension has a value. They're just built differently, they think differently, and they run on completely different kinds of infrastructure.
So the big question is, how do we get the best of both? How do you build a bridge between this world that understands super precise model numbers and the other world that understands what a record player actually is?
And this is the real technical puzzle, right? You've got these 2 incredibly powerful systems, but they're speaking totally different languages. One is spitting out a score that could be anything, it's unbounded. The other one gives you a nice, neat score between 0 and 1. How on earth do you combine those into a single trustworthy ranking?
Well, the first thing everyone tries is to just, add them together with some weights. But that fails. It fails spectacularly. Why? Because that BM25 score, which could be 50 or 100, completely and totally drowns out the tiny little vector score. It's like trying to average the weight of an elephant and an ant. The ant just doesn't matter.
And the solution is, well, it's actually kind of beautiful in its simplicity. It's called reciprocal rank fusion, or RRF. And the core idea is just brilliant. You completely ignore the scores themselves. RRF doesn't care if a score was 100 or 0.9. It only asks one simple question: where did this thing show up in each of the ranked lists? That's it.
Okay, so let's see how this actually works. Here are the results from our BM25 lexical search. And look, it does a pretty good job. It nails the exact model number. PSLX350H puts it right there at the top. But you can see it also gets a little confused. It pulls in some other Sony stuff and even an Olympus model, just because some of the words overlap. All right, now let's look at the other side of the coin, the vector search results. This one is great at understanding the concept of a turntable, so it correctly puts our 2 main versions right at the top. But it also starts to pull in other Sony electronics, like a CD player, because semantically they're kind of in the same neighborhood.
And here's the magic. This is where it all comes together. When we apply RRF, we're just looking at the ranks. Take a look at the belt drive turntable. It was ranked number 3 in one list, but number 1 in the other. RRF sees that consistent, high ranking from both systems and vaults it straight to the number 1 spot overall. Basically, the things that both systems agree on rise to the top, and all the weird noise from each individual system just gets pushed down. It's so smart.
Okay, so we've got a fantastic way to combine scores based on text, but what if the most powerful clue isn't in the text at all? What if real identity is actually defined by the web of connections something has to other things? This takes us way beyond just comparing two records at a time.
And the tool for this is something called a heterogeneous knowledge graph. I know, it sounds super complicated, but all it really is a map of your world. It has different types of places on the map, like a product mention, a brand, a model number, and the specific roads that connect them, like made by or has model. And this is where things get really, really cool. Instead of just comparing mention A directly to mention B, we follow the roads on our map. If mention A leads us to the exact same model number as mention B, well, having two separate paths that converge on the same point is way stronger evidence than any text score could ever give you. It's like having two independent witnesses pointing to the same suspect.
So, we've talked about lexical search, semantic search, this hybrid fusion thing, even graph reasoning. We have a whole toolkit full of powerful stuff. But here's maybe the most important takeaway of all. Just having a big pile of algorithms is not a strategy.
The real solution, the right approach, is an orchestration. It's about being a conductor. It's knowing which tool to use, when to use it, and how to sequence them all in a way that is perfectly tuned for the specific risks and needs of your business.
Let me show you exactly what I mean. Let's look at 3 different fields. In healthcare, your strategy is simple. Do no harm. Accidentally merging 2 patient records is a complete catastrophe, so you tune everything for maximum precision. In finance, say for anti-money laundering, the strategy is find the hidden links. If you miss a connection, you could get hit with a massive fine, so you tune for recall. You want to find every possible link, even if you get some false alarms. And then in retail, your goal is accurate planning, so you use a balanced, hybrid approach. See? Same tools, but completely different strategies, completely different orchestrations. And this really brings us to the final, critical point. You can have the fanciest, most expensive data infrastructure in the world, a perfect data mesh, the whole shebang. But if all of that is built on a shaky foundation of fragmented identity, all you're really doing is getting the wrong answers faster. You're just doing the wrong math at lightning speed.
So I'll leave you with this one question to think about for your own work. When it comes to identity in your data, what is the real cost of being wrong? Because the answer to that question, well, that's what's going to define your entire strategy.